He can write his journals and his little refutations, and people like me will read them because I'm interested in those things. But people are not interested in Daniel Dennett. So because of the movement, they didn't produce students that could take their place. That's one point. Number one, their arguments were weak. Number two, they didn't produce students that could take their place. Number three, people are finding those people unrelatable. Number four, they got defeated many times in debates. And number five, it's becoming boring what they're saying. And we've heard it all before. And so for those reasons and more, we don't find people navigating from religion to new atheism. And even the new atheists themselves seem to have given up on the cause.
New atheism was never in the business of converting people. It's not a cult like Islam. The new atheist movement tried to restore meritocracy instead of idiocracy, and in a large extent achieved that. It gave a blow to the fake intellectual confidence of religion, but primarily New Atheism is a humanitarian movement against discrimination and persecution of atheists. That is still going on in the Muslim world, by the way. Now, in a free environment where atheists are not discriminated against and ideas fall or stand by their own merit, superior ideas will inevitably dominate. Because truth correlates to what works, and what works translates to social pressures. So, superior ideas, because they work, will inevitably dominate. That's why Islam hates freedom. Because in a free environment where ideas are measured by their objective merit, that's a death sentence for Islam.
That's a really powerful way of putting it. It's actually very interesting that the way that you broke it down in terms of the death of their loudest and the most, I would say, vocal amongst them. And, he was actually the poorest in arguments, even though he was the most prolific in his, language and he had a good command in terms of debates and stuff. So what are your thoughts on the new atheist movement and the death of this movement?
Well, I'd start off, of course, I talk about origin of life and origin of the universe. I would say the science is not making much progress in those fields. And you mean as far as socially, like people like Bill Maher and Ricky Gervais and all these, we have the same atheist clowns in America. Very liberal, very against traditional life, any sort of religion. So, I mean, we see it here in the States. As far as growth, it's gonna plateau. I mean, is atheism going to take over the world? No, that's never going to happen. They think it is, of course. But, I mean, their big speakers are either dying or getting old.
The traditional weapons of religion is indoctrination, intimidation, or social pressures, and scientific illiteracy. All these factors are diminishing with globalization and mass information. The internet, all these new technologies, mass information, all these factors are diminishing. In contrast, atheism has a positive correlation with this stuff.
So what I want to put on the table is the fact that I don't want the religious person in the lab telling me that God is responsible for what it is they cannot discover. Because look at the hubris of that. You're in the lab and you say, I don't know how this works. And not only that, no one alive on earth knows how this works. And not only that, no one who will ever be born will know how this works. That's kind of audacious when you think about it. And then you put it down and go on to the next problem. If this problem is a cure for Alzheimer's or cancer or whatever else, I don't want them in the science classroom. And so the issue is simply about progress and discovery. And in my recent forays into Washington, well, I've been closer to a community of Republicans than I have ever been in my life. And I get sort of baptized into a Republican administration. I had 2 consecutive appointments in the Bush administration, one on aerospace, on the aerospace industry, and one on space exploration, the NASA's future, basically. And I realized something, spending that much time in the community of powerful Republicans, that Republicans, above all else, do not want to die poor. So, there's a limit to how far this will go. And
Do you understand? There is a limit people can compromise well-being for religion. Religion doesn't work. That's why it will die. Okay, it's practical, it's social evolution. So nobody compromised the future of their society for religion, except Muslim, of course, and we see the results in the Muslim world.
I bet most people in this room, even those assembled at this table, were highly concerned about the Dover trial, wondering how that would turn. And I looked at that and I said, I'm not worried, because it's a Republican judge. And in the end, if you put people who are not making discoveries in the science classroom, that is the end of the foundation of your future economy.
Noticed he mentions the Dover trial. That was a trial of intelligent design against evolution, whether intelligent design should be taught in classrooms. And a conservative judge ruled no. Intelligent design is not an alternative to evolution. Why is that? Although the judge was religious. Because he knew that if you insert religion into classrooms, that will end society. USA will stop being the leading force in this world. I will have this trial, the video of this trial in the description.
On Nova.
I believe there is an intelligent design. In the beginning, God created.
Saying that you don't believe in evolution is almost saying we don't believe that the Civil War ever took place in the United States.
An extraordinary court case ignites a small town.
There's like a civil war within the community, there's no question.
And puts science itself on trial.
Very important things were at stake. One is the future of science education in this country.
Nova reveals the story behind the headlines.
Anywhere you turned, we were getting attacked.
Witnesses started dropping like flies.
And probes the question, is intelligent design a scientific alternative to evolution?
Properly the subject of a science class.
Or religion in disguise?
It's a violation of everything we mean and everything we understand by science.
Judgment Day, intelligent design on trial, on Nova.
And so I had a little more confidence than others did because of this sensitivity to the money aspect of it. But we all know tomorrow's economies will be founded on innovations in science and technology, and of course that gets cut short if we lose our civilization, as what happened in Islam in 1100. And the last thought I'll leave you with, which concerns me greatly, if you do the math, okay? You know, just look, you look at all the Nobel Prize winners there ever were, some even in this room, and ask how many were Muslim. And it's like one, maybe two, okay? I think a second one was in economics.
You understand now why Islam will never dominate. It's very simple, because when you have the scientific literacy and intelligence to dominate, is the minute you will stop being traditional Muslims. Okay, the factors that you need to do to societies to dominate are the factors that go against Islam. So, Islam will never dominate, by definition, okay, it's impossible. Because the things you need to do in the society to dominate are the things that contradict Islam.
But I mean, their big speakers are either dying or getting old. I don't see anything changing. Their arguments aren't getting any better. The Lawrence Krausses of the world with their universe from nothing and their unseen, untestable multiverse nonsense. No, it's not going anywhere.
All right, thank you for your thoughts. And also, I want to get your perspective on something. The new atheist challenge to intelligent design, the likes of Stephen Myers and Michael Behe and Philip Johnson, all these guys. How do you think they've done on the biological perspective? Because that's something that you're an expert on, and you keep very much with that stuff.
Yeah, not an expert. Somebody like James Tour and many other chemists in that field. Yes, I would say, yeah, they're not really putting a dent in that argument. They think they are, but the information problem is so severe. They've pushed it to other planets, maybe aliens seeded life on Earth. Even the most pristine laboratory environments, they can't create a functional protein under any sort of prebiotic environments. Even when we give them all the purified chemical reagents, they're not able to do any of this stuff. Origin of life has been a field of nothing but hype. In the last 40 years, they print their papers year after year to get their grant money. It's not going anywhere. It's a bunch of garbage. Somebody like James Tour exposes them. They don't like it. They call somebody like James Tour, oh, he's not an expert. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yet they can't refute anything he's saying. Yeah.
The problem with intelligent design is that they can only do God of the gaps arguments, irreducible complexity arguments. Since science is an evolving principle, discipline, they just look like having a negative attitude to the progress of science. And of course, intelligent design can never be an actual scientific field because it doesn't advance anything. They are just critics. And they cannot prove anything because they rely on the failure of other disciplines of science, not making their own science. This guy's, this person, this creationist said, person. I was reluctant to call him a person. Okay, sorry about that. They were the same guys that participated in the Dover trial. See how much of an ass they made of themselves. They were totally embarrassed. They lied in the courtroom. The evolutionist made a fool of these guys. Now supposedly these guys are, yeah, right.
The chemistry is not going anywhere in 50, 60 years. So yeah, it's a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, and also when it comes to, say, the God delusion and the biological arguments,
the scientific investigation about the origins of life, we call abiogenesis, is garbage. This is what this guy just said. Look what this guy said. He said, the scientific investigation about the origins of life is garbage. Before that, he said, the multiverse and all this nonsense. Mr. Creationist, how about go and see if I'm coming? Why clever theists believe in evolution and believe in abiogenesis and all this kind of stuff? Because God, in all world history, he uses physical mechanisms to do stuff. So in the case of life, he suddenly ran out and said, I cannot think of any physical mechanism. Let's use magic now. In the middle of the creation. At the same time, we know with 100% certainty, as a fact, that not all species came to be at the same time. So, God did magic all around history 1 billion times. God did magic 1 billion times. Even now that we have new species, maybe tomorrow we will have a new species. So, even now God comes down and does magic. That makes magic more common than gardening. So obviously there is a physical mechanism how species evolve. And of course we know evolution. But even in abiogenesis, there must be a physical mechanism. It's totally weird. God suddenly, although he uses a physical mechanism for everything else, suddenly he said, in this case I will do magic. It's totally stupid. So you don't even need to see the evidence. You just need common sense to understand that abiogenesis will be proven at some point. as Hippocrates said, men think epilepsy divine merely because they do not understand it. We will one day understand what causes epilepsy and then cease to call it divine. And so it is with everything in the universe. Now, let's replace the word epilepsy with abiogenesis, with the origins of life. Men think the origins of life divine merely because they do not understand it. We will one day understand what causes the origins of life and then cease to call it divine. And so it is with everything in the universe. This guy was 450 before Christ, and he gets it.
The chemistry is not going anywhere in 50, 60 years. So yeah, it's a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, and also when it comes to, say, the God delusion and the biological arguments that he uses against God, Dawkins uses, what are your thoughts on that?
As far as origin of life?
Yeah, I mean, what he's basically arguing for, not just the origin. The origin he tries to explain using basically luck, right? And he actually does use the word luck in there. And when it comes to sorry,
what's funny is in the movie Expelled, he actually admits that some sort of alien designer could be a possibility.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that.
Of course, you didn't understand anything, as always. Okay, it's so weird. Okay, they put forward some cliché arguments that whoever was in this debate for a while knows what actually happened. Nobody makes these arguments anymore. Okay, it's like they are 10 years ago. What Richard Dawkins said in this interview was that it's more probable that life came from another planet than God made life, which is absolutely true. We know from science that bacteria can travel through space. So it's even if what he said, that even if we don't find abiogenesis in this planet, it's more probable life began in another planet and came with asteroids than God made life. This is what he said. And it's factually true. Factually true. Every physical explanation, it's much more probable than a supernatural explanation, by definition. So, he said something factually true. You are idiots, my friend. And you don't even, not only idiots, you are even ignorant. First of all, you don't even understand what you see, my friend. You don't understand what you see. They see an interview and they don't understand what is being said. And then they have the nerve to even be arrogant about it. I was an idiot. I didn't even understand what he said. Bravo.
Self-replicating molecule.
Right. How did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No. Nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in evolution?
It could come about in the following way. It could be that at some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved by probably some kind of Darwinian means to a very, very high level of technology and designed a form of life that they seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility and an intriguing possibility. And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer.
Wait a second. Richard Dawkins thought intelligent design might be a legitimate pursuit?
Guys, I was wrong, okay? I saw this interview 8 years ago. So I forgot. And I was fast to accuse these guys of misquoting Dawkins. Dawkins, but my point remains. Okay, Dawkins in this interview makes the Prometheus example. Have you seen the movie Prometheus? Where there is an engineer, an alien species that they call engineer, and he made the aliens and predators and even humans in the lab. Okay, this is the example Dawkins give, that an intelligent species makes other species in the lab. Okay, my example was the other movie, the evolution movie. Have you seen the movie Evolution? It's a comedy, very good, very nice. Where an asteroid came to Earth that got bacteria. In any case, this point remains that it's more probable life began somewhere else and came to Earth than God made life, by definition, because the one explanation is physical, the other is supernatural. So by definition, the physical explanation is more probable. So the point remains. Richard Dawkins was absolutely right in his statement. Okay, thank you guys. I might do another video and see if we have some other arguments. Thank you very much.